Okay, I'd like to call the May 28th, 2019 Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District meeting to order. And it looks like we have lots of paperwork to sign now, so I need a motion. Minutes, please.
Make a motion that we approve the April 30 minutes.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And payroll and manifests?
Make a motion that we approve the payroll and manifest in front of us.
I would second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Alrighty, so let's get these signed and then we can start talking to people. Oh, you want the big one?
Pass it. Oh, I was gonna
Well, I'll sign it and
have
then
somebody
I'll pass
signing
it.
and all three people signing at the same time.
Well, everybody could have grabbed.
If you're gonna sign stuff, we have some distribution
Oh,
requests
you wanna-
for water,
okay.
groundwater.
Was that the DWSRF and
Yep.
the other ones?
Yeah, if you wanna
Oh,
just,
Paul, you've signed all of this already.
you can get
Can
writer's
I have a
cramp
motion
once.
for that as well? That one?
The big toss.
Request for disbursement, we need the chair's signature on that. I would move that we would have the chair sign that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty.
No, I can stop working.
You want everything.
Well, look at the number of checks there. I'm gonna be writing all night.
Big pile.
Oh, well.
Alright, so these are,
You got nothing else to do, it's raining.
That's right.
And get another.
do we have any purchase rec? No. Okay. Goes to,
Signature again.
yeah, he doesn't need that. Alrighty, are we good? Alright, so it looks like we have some new business. So we have a workshop on dewatering. Hi Sheila.
Do you want to lead off with what we're trying to...
And we're gonna have
Brought
Jason,
Sheila
Randall.
and Charlie in from RMI today.
Hi
We have
Charlie. I
quite
should
a
have said
few.
hello to you too.
It's quite an array of things to discuss this evening that impacts dewatering and
Yeah.
sludge recycling. So, going to start off with the system. Our actual system. Took a copy of our map just so everyone is on the same page as to what the different components we're talking about.
Yeah. Excellent.
So it gives you kind of an idea. The first page is kind of a layout of our dewatering room and the conveyors and the actual press. And then the second page is a profile, shows you actual into the basement of the building where the sludge pumps pump from the gravity thickener to the press. And then the third page is an actual breakdown of the press itself. So I know we talked in the last meeting about the screens in the press. There are 6 channels, so you can see the 6 round pieces, components to the press. When we discussed with the manufacturer and they had an inspection of it, there was 8 out of the 12 screens were deemed compromised.
So there's one on each side of the little circly thing.
Correct. So
Okay.
there's two screens per channel.
Yep.
Okay.
You probably saw it in the update today, the quote we received from the manufacturer. We told them clearly over the phone, we're looking to replace all 6 channels. They only quoted us for 6 screens. So hence the great deal it was.
There's no more.
Why didn't we sign on that dotted line immediately?
So with that, we had the manufacturer's representative in last Friday, and he said, before you go ahead with going forward with all the screens, let's just make sure the structural components of the channels are not corroded like the screens are. Assuming the screens are corroded, they assume that channels are corroded as well. They inspected on Friday, and it was deemed that the structural components are not corroded, just the screens are corroded.
I thought we
Which is
had some
interesting.
discussion that perhaps there was a problem with the screens at some point. Weren't we talking about that a couple meetings ago?
Right,
Okay.
right. We knew the screens were compromised, but we weren't sure if the channels were
Right, but I
compromised.
thought there was something wrong, in quotes, like systemically wrong with the screens, not, or inherently wrong with the screens.
They're replacing with different material.
They were stainless,
Right,
new ones will be
exactly.
stainless. The old
Right,
ones-
okay, I knew
Yeah.
we were talking about
Yeah,
something,
it would
why
be
they weren't.
ethanol grade stainless, which is, I guess, a higher quality than what we currently have. They use it a lot in food processing, dewatering of food processing, like making juices and stuff.
Okay.
Let's leave that analogy right there.
It's just another end of the system, that's all.
You know what, you gotta remember, we're making cake, so, you know.
Right. So some people use it for the other end to capture the juice versus the solid portion.
Right, there you go. Yum.
So with that, I just wanted to make everyone aware that we have received a quote for the 12 screens being replaced, and it's $98,000.
Howie's?
So they were able to give us a discount of 25% per screen. So I think the screen cost was about $9,700 per screen, and we're getting them about $7,500. And the labor was about 8,000 and 4 days to replace them. So with that being said, we did discuss the operation of just replacing 3 channels, which is the quote we originally had for $53,000. And that is a solution I think would work in the short term. It does not affect, we were assured by the manufacturer and the representative that it would not affect the cake quality. It would affect the filtrate quality. So the stuff, the liquid portion coming out, we wouldn't be capturing all the solids and putting it into the cake. Some of those solids would be filtering out into the liquid and then recycled through the plant.
Is that what's happening right now?
Yes.
Inefficient.
So
Right,
it's
it would be
inefficient,
around.
but over time, the quality, because it's being recycled, passing through just back and forth, over time, it might build up enough. If we don't have enough fibrous material coming through, like primary solids and septage to mix with it, we get too much of that secondary solids and this recycle filtrate, the quality then will affect the cake
Okay.
down the road, because it's really the pore sludge that doesn't bind with the polymers and
Right, so it
flocculate
doesn't
to
flock.
make the cake.
Yeah.
It's just really fine stuff that breaks up and doesn't bond well.
Okay.
So we're not experiencing anything bad right now for our quality, but there's potential down the road. We don't know exactly when. It all depends on the makeup of our sludge coming in there.
Okay.
So, and that is an option to keep running the 3 cells with the older screens on it. There was one cell that the screens were not compromised on, so we could save that one and essentially have two other ones that just have one good screen on them.
Yankee ingenuity.
Right. And
Don't
get
get
by.
on it till it's worn out.
And the other part of it is we were looking to, part of this quote, we received programming updates so that we can run 24/7 on the 3-cell side. That would be essentially
Right.
new. Excuse me. And
If we replace all 12 or all 6, depending on how you're
Yeah.
looking at it, I'm assuming the programming comes with it, and then we can run it 24/7, and it would be
right.
lovely.
Yep.
Okay.
But if we only decide to do one side to 3 channels at the
You can
53,000,
only do the,
we can isolate those 3 new ones and run it 24/7. We won't be saving any energy or efficiency because you're still turning the other ones, but it would allow us to operate in that manner and press out the same amount of sludge and potentially have
So you're
still
running
good quality.
24/7 instead of 12?
Right.
Well, I presume your recommendation is to replace all of them, is it not?
At this time, I would recommend replacing them all. We are looking at other options as well. Part of what Sheila and Charlie came today is to talk about the sludge dryer by Shinse that we briefly discussed last fall. And there is a dewatering component to that machine as well. We're in the process of getting cost estimates on that, and we should know sometime in mid-June what the cost estimates are on that.
Now, when I was out at the plant last week, we talked about that plastic or nylon sleeve that goes in the screw conveyor. Now, how does that play into this? Were we not thinking that there might be something that needs to be repaired there in the near future?
Yep, we have replaced the channel liners for the shaftless screw conveyor inside the dewatering room, but the portion outside the dewatering room from there to the trailer
Top half.
bay, the pug mill
right,
area,
up in here.
we have not changed out yet, and those are probably the most compromised pieces.
And that's what takes it to the truck bay, right?
Right.
To
The problem there is really the access. We'd have to probably drop the entire conveyor out to fix those liners, because when they installed it, it's only about a foot or 2 clearance from the ceiling.
Didn't we just do this?
It's really,
No, that was 10 years ago.
if
When
you
we
go out there.
replaced it already? I thought we had replaced it once already.
Not the liners in the conveyor.
Okay, what did we replace just recently in this whole section?
We replaced,
I know we just did the silo.
yep.
I got the silo.
We replaced the liners from there to the
Right.
press. And
Those
this
are
is
easily accessed.
inside the dewatering room.
I thought we
Yeah.
had to lower something from the ceiling and
Maybe it was the pug mill.
I think it was the pug mill. I thought we had just
But
done
this-
this, but I mean, I'm
There's
thinking
all-
just, and it could be 5 years ago.
Yeah, not since I've been here, we haven't touched anything in there.
Well,
Okay,
I guess
so maybe I'm thinking this part, so, okay.
the bottom line is, I guess,
It's all
what we need to get
Leaky.
at is a total cost of
rehab of this thing.
options A and B. I mean, obviously, from what you're suggesting to me, this is on the short list here for need replacement. And since that's going to
Right.
be a job, I don't know how many extra days it is to get, to jimmy that out of there. It's, there's
Yeah, that would be
non-trivial
something,
cost.
if we decide to go forward with the pug mill, we replace it at that time because you're gonna have everything apart up there.
Right.
Well, yeah, you might as well do it all at once rather
Right.
than,
Right, so at this time, my recommendation is to hold on the pug mill until we figure out the total package. If we're going with the dryer and dewatering, it's probably gonna be in a different arrangement than what we have now. We won't need the pug mill for
right.
the
that was
dryer
something-
component.
Right.
So we're gonna try to limp along as long as we can under the current arrangement until we see the big picture, we get the costs together for the dewatering component and the dryer itself.
So what's a realistic limping period here?
I was just gonna ask that question. How long can we limp until it goes, eh?
I would say realistic, we can get through the end of this year.
Okay.
But I'm going to anticipate that you're going to say it would be much better to be replacing all this in the summer when there's lower flows, is that?
Not necessarily, because we are still pressing quite a bit
I see.
from septage.
I was gonna
The-
say,
the-
this
yes,
is
yes,
the
yes.
peak time for
The best
septic
time would,
haulers.
right, the best time would be from December to probably February.
Oh,
I
okay.
in
was
the
gonna
winter
say
to-
Thanksgiving, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, that's.
over
yeah.
winter break.
Yep.
Right, so that's the thing, we do have in our contract with RMI to haul untreated sludge. So essentially, if conveyors go down, we could still dewater, possibly get it to the can, and they would haul it away. It wouldn't go through the pug mill and get mixed with lime, but that's what we've done in the past with RMI.
So it's going out liquid.
Right, it's going out the door that way. We also do have provisions for a direct connection to a tanker if we do have to haul the liquid portion
Let's
to
hope
another
not.
facility.
Right.
Maybe at Littleton perhaps.
Return the favor.
And then they can come here.
What's the cost of running that 24 and doing half the job that way versus the whole, running at 12? What's the
Replacing
additional cost?
replacing the 3 screens would be the 53,000.
I'm
That
talking energy-wise.
energy-wise would be no difference. Because essentially you're turning the entire piece of equipment. There's only material running through one half versus the other.
So you're gonna get half the product,
Right.
okay?
But from an operations efficiency standpoint, we are running at a prolonged period and keeping that material moving at a constant rate and feed, whereas right now, we're only running
We do
for,
it.
say, a single shift. We may get only 5 hours of production out of a single day because it takes about an hour to 2 hours each morning just to get it up and running and change the settings to get it to run efficiently.
So it may be to our benefit to keep it running all the time.
Right, more consistent loading to the plant filtrate wise and more consistency going to the trailer and mixing.
Typically higher solids
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, you can run it actually slower, you'll get higher solids out of it.
Which is better for
Less-
us,
Yeah,
less
well, that's
cost.
why I'm asking the
Right.
question, yeah.
Jason, would this require any manpower
Which,
for the 24/7?
no, we would pretty much have someone on the day shift operate it, top off chemicals as needed, and then it would run for 16 hours after hours, essentially to the next morning.
And it can do that.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, the limitations we have right now for running 6 channels, we can only run about 6 to 8 hours afterwards because the polymer tanks would run out and
Right,
shut
that's
the
what I
machine
was
off.
wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we're only running half of it, we can
Right.
get double the time.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. Got it.
So we might be better off when we get all of those screens replaced to continue with that, the way you're talking about it.
Mhm.
And run 3 and then switch over 3 and give it a break in between.
Yep. Yeah, because right now we're hammering at 100% speed
Right.
for 8 hours, and it's acting like a slug load as well to the plant. So the amount of material we're dewatering, the filtrate
Right. it's
water
coming in.
component equal to that is slamming the system during peak hours
Right.
where we're getting the most flow during the day. So it would be good to shift some of that to the evening.
And we get a better product in the end.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we
So-
want to talk about this dryer? Because throwing in this whole dryer idea changes this whole thing
Right.
completely.
Okay.
Well, wanted to offer up, we partner with, not the board you all, but for your benefit, we, and Don, we partner with a company out in Arizona, Sun State Environmental. There's only one of these dryers in the entire North America, and it's at our partners at Sun State. And I went out and this April and I made a video of showing both a spiral dewatering unit, which was what we were talking about, a potential replacement for the Fourniers, in combination with the dryer. And it's about 2 minutes long. Would you all care to see it?
Oh, sure.
Multimedia.
I know,
Yeah,
we're in
work with
the
me.
21st century.
This is just too cool.
Someday we'll get a projector.
Well, had I
Right, the viewing
known,
public cannot see this,
Didn't
unfortunately.
know how to do volume.
Nope. Must be here somewhere.
It's usually on the side.
yeah, every time my dad hits his, he turns it off.
Right.
Why didn't you design it for
It's a
6 if we
classic.
only needed
Granny
9?
does the same thing.
There was actually provisions to put a hold on their unit on.
Dewatered
Because
cake
it's only designed to
is
run these
delivered
hours.
up into the actual Shinshi dryer. This is an excellent.
Here we go, okay. Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Charlie Hanson from
me.
RMI. I'm here in Yuma, Arizona today to talk about Shinshi dryers.
Bring it over
This
on
is a
Netflix.
complete mobile unit.
It is actually.
It has a watering unit with liquid sludge.
So small.
Well, this is a demo unit. Yours would be a little bigger.
The unit we expect, well,
It's delivered up into the actual Shinshi dryer.
I was just thinking it'd be water and small.
1200 unit, meaning it can dry 1200 kilograms of water today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the specifics on how this machine works. So the spiral press starts by liquid sludge coming in and having polymer introduced to it, where the mix of polymer and liquid sludge is about 2% mixes here in the mixing box. The mixing box then feeds down the polymer added sludge into the spiral filter press. The spiral filter press is merely a gentle screw inside a set of rings. Every other
So
ring
there's
is
a
fixed,
screw pump in there,
every other ring is loose.
slowly turn.
like an Archimedes
Provides a
screw.
slight space
Similar.
for the liquid for the filtrate to be removed from the cake. So here's the dewatered cake coming off the end of the spiral press. 2% liquid sludge, it's coming off at 20+%. You can see here, it drops into a shaftless screw conveyor. The cake
That's
is
the same type of
continuing
screw
to
conveyor
improve
we
after
have.
startup. I wouldn't be surprised if these solids were hitting the low 20s, 22, 23.
So the top end of it, that's the top, that where it feeds into the dryer.
Of the slitter box, that rectangle at the top. This is the slitter box. This particular screw is feeding the dewatered cake
Love
the
the way it
spiral
just
filter
spits it
press.
out.
It's now following onto these two sets of rotating rollers. The upper rollers with the fingers will help move the dewatered 20-22% cake down into the lower two rollers, what I like to call the industrial pasta machine, for shaping prior to going on the belt. Shaping in belt dryers is extremely important. And the beautiful part of the Shinshi design is those lower rollers, by rotating, they do not clog for fiber or other materials that can be in the dewatered cake. So here, you can see where the slitter box is forming the sludge into small pieces, and it's dropping onto the belt. This is the belt that runs to the back of the machine, where it drops onto the second belt, which comes out, and this is the fully dried product below.
It's like powder.
Now here is the final dried cake.
Coffee
Cake
grounds.
is fully dried.
You brought some in.
It's now greater than 90% solids. Based
the
upon
volume
analysis, it's actually close to 93%.
Oh,
This means in the United States,
it's about,
Class A standards.
it depends on the
and
mechanics,
pathogen and
60
vector
to
attraction
70% volume.
Compared to what you're getting out of here today.
Yeah, but it's the tonnage we talk about. That's what we really. So that's a dryer with a dewatering unit. And so, Jason, we had given you the proposal for just the dryer, based on the fact that you had the Fourniers working. And so when this came up, I was like, oh, great, because there are some cost savings if we have dewatering with the dryer. Currently, we had originally configured you with a dryer with a surge bin. You would dewater cake into the bin because to your question earlier regarding running 24/5 or 7 or whatever, a belt dryer, because it uses heat pumps and it's recycling the energy, you want to start them once and just let them run ideally. That's where you get the most efficiency. And so we had to design that in along with an extra conveyor to feed it. Now, we can take the bin out, we can take that feed conveyor out. Hearing you talk about potentially, well, long story short, talking with Jason this evening and talking with our engineer today, this gets a little more complicated, and we need to have him come out and take a look on how, because I think Jason has some ideas on how we could come up with a very cost-effective drying solution overall for you that's very similar to the cost that we've already shared with you earlier, well, late last year. Sorry, so we'll have more answers.
What was, refresh my memory on what the number was last.
Some of that, Chris, I have right here.
Yeah, one of the big things I think for us was the electricity, because we have to put in monstrosity electric to run this baby.
Right.
Yeah, in general, the cost per ton, per wet ton, after coming off the dewatering unit, for most of the plants we've looked at, runs between $22 to $25 a ton. That's, in general, using 12 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, since you all have started to really kick up your septage, and we could actually run a 50-gallon barrel out to Arizona if we wanted to trial this, but in theory, you should be getting higher solids. So if we start running numbers at 22, 24, 26%, which I do think is achievable, then you see
Becomes more efficient.
big
We're what,
differences.
16 right now, or are we
No,
even
no,
that
no.
high?
No,
We're at 25 right
Yeah, you're-
now.
We're at
but we
25
can
right
easily,
now.
If we slow that press down, we can get 30% easy.
plus.
Okay,
Yeah.
but if we do the dryer, we're at,
So think of this as two different things. You have dewatering,
Right.
which is the initial mechanical water removal.
Right.
And then you have the drying piece.
Right.
The dryer you can get, it's the cheapest dewatering you have is that initial squeezing the water
initial
out.
squeeze it out, okay.
Correct. So then you hit the dryer, it goes through the belts, comes out, oh, it's 90%, greater than 90%.
90%.
The reason we talk about 90% is because that meets a federal requirement to make it a Class A product. And that's the whole goal, because once you become Class A, you're out of any permitting like we currently do for your Class B material, which is the lime stabilized material.
You'll see in the spreadsheet too that there's a difference, you can see the difference between Class A and Class B.
Right, because we're Class B currently.
Right, RMI quoted us last year, I think it was 41.45 a ton for Class A, whereas right now we're paying about 87.70 was our average last year per ton, based on wastewater solids and Class B.
Which last year was like, and you've done this a couple years in a row, and it has to do with equipment issues, right?
Right,
In
we had the
general.
lime silo
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
So that you've averaged, last year was 200 tons of just wastewater solids.
So, sorry, Chris, it not only cuts the cost in half, but also the volume, like Don was mentioning. I believe, I was reading the literature, it was per ton, it would be a factor of 3.6 times less.
Sounds about right, with the higher solids.
So we're going from, 1,052 tons this year to potentially less than 300 tons of material. So that's cutting down on shipping
much we're
costs,
shipping and-
transportation, and the availability of farmers as well. My understanding is that a lot of farm fields now, after many years of application, are, don't have a pH deficiency like they used to. So by adding lime, we're really a unique customer of RMI's, and they're limited on where they can apply our solids
Right, because we're
because of
pH
the
is so high.
agronomic, properties.
Right.
Yeah, calcium saturation on the fields and driving the pH up, you can only do so much.
Right.
The thing that I really believe about this dryer technology is that, for one, we got to stop hauling water. It's crazy.
Right.
Right.
And so just removing the water at the treatment plant makes sense. This is the most cost-effective and technology-based simplicity for a dryer system that we've seen, and I've been doing this 30 years, so I've seen a lot of black boxes that promise they'll work. This one does. We also think that it's a way to manage your risk, and I only raise this because for every good there's a balance with the frustration in our world, and that is the PFAS situation.
Right.
And
Right.
you may or may not know PFAS is a 4-letter word, but it is.
Right.
It's really risen.
No, we're all at the
No,
beginning
yeah.
of that controversy. but,
Yeah. So, and PFAS is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. Well, everything in our society ends at our treatment plant, so it is, it's here and it's not going away. And
Right.
so this is another way, if we get to the point where we're not allowed to recycle and do beneficial use, at least we've shrunk our liability and we have less
Right, because we
material to
have
deal
less
with.
material to have to
Right.
worry about.
And a landfill, while they say currently if it has any PFAS, we may not accept it, my guess is if you're gonna have to take a sludge there, a dry one would be more attractive. And if it gets to the point where we have to dispose of all of our sludges as a fuel in an incinerator, a dry fuel is going to be much more,
Right,
more
you
sense.
can't burn something
Right.
that's still dripping.
Right.
More than likely here, I mean, the benefits are going to lead the way, but, I mean, that doesn't replace the fact that we have to articulate what the total cost is of both
Right.
of our options. And
Right.
having, you know, if there was one takeaway from my most recent tour of the plant was the extent of the electrical infrastructure at our plant.
yeah,
I
it's
never
crazy.
realized how much that is, and all I could see were dollar signs, honestly, when I look around. And so I can't imagine that the electrical component is trivial in this. So, I mean, we need to know what that number is.
Yep.
Before we can proceed. So, and we're gonna have to get an engineering quote on that.
Yeah, we did receive a quote from Electrical Installations last year when we were
Oh, we did.
initially looking at it. And that was
I'm not remembering.
$20,000 to run a feed to the trailer bay to hook up this piece of
No,
equipment.
it's not so bad. It's
Yeah.
not nearly as bad as I thought it might be. And this is,
Well, we have to put in the outside meter and, right, and we have to run the line from the pole.
No, it come right
That-
out of the main MCC. We have
Oh,
enough-
okay.
enough space.
We do?
Yeah,
Okay, because that, last time I think we had talked, we weren't 100% sure if we did.
yeah.
right, we weren't sure at that time, but
Okay,
we did confirm that we do have enough.
that makes this a
Capacity
lot
there.
more palatable.
And the stupid question of the hour, this will fit in our existing building?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. These units are modular. You can get them down to smaller than this table, actually. Way too small for the job you want to do. To
Right.
put it in perspective, that unit is 1/4 the size of the unit you would need.
All right, and the dryer component, are we saying the whole length of it is 1/4?
No.
Or just the?
The actual
the
unit
one
of-
that looked like the
And this
6
this
or
is
8?
subject to change based on the new information of going 24/7, which we may be able to get away with a little bit smaller, or it may make sense to go to 2 smaller dryers. Not sure yet, that's why we want the engineer to
Okay,
come
'cause you
out.
can split the feed.
But if the 4,800 we originally spec'd, it's only 20 feet long, and your bay is 44? I forget.
Yes.
How big is the
Longer.
Fournier?
The Fournier is in the building.
Right.
So the Fournier is probably about, I don't know if the specs are on here or not, but it was, I'd say it's probably about 15 feet long by probably about 6 feet wide.
Charlie, are we still talking about using the Fournier? Or no, we
You know,
wouldn't need it anymore?
No, at this point, with the latest issue coming up with this, is perhaps a separate dewatering unit, and sometimes.
So that's that thing that looked like the big cabinet in the video.
The one you were asking about, oh,
Right.
that's squeeze it, exactly.
Okay.
And it would be just a slightly larger version of that to do what the Fourniers do now.
All right.
But
And
you need redundancy. And Jason had mentioned about using part of the Fourniers, having that maybe as a backup, and then you'd still be able, with the existing conveyors in place, you'd be able to bypass for whatever reason if you needed to, or it's always good to have redundancy.
Yeah, so depending on, it really is gonna depend on the cost of the dewatering component to the Shinsi dryer.
Okay.
If that comes in close to where we are
at
with the
repairing
screens and the repair,
screens.
it may be a no-brainer to go that way if the technology is simpler, easier to maintain potentially, and we have the space for it, obviously. And then we could use the Fournier as is, as an emergency backup or redundancy in times of higher need.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, it just turns out, so Shinchi doesn't own the dewatering component, they partner with another company. And So there are some of those dewatering units in the United States, and there happens to be one in Bellows Falls, Vermont. So if you wanted to actually see one of these spiral screw presses working, they're neat technology because they're simple.
And we all know. Bellows
Where are they
Falls is
manufactured?
pretty close.
They're manufactured in China as well. In fact, I think Shinchi might be buying them because it's such a good
So where are, if there are none of these Chinchi, or however you say it,
Shinchi.
Shinchi, operations in this country, where are they? In
Well,
China?
there's one in
Yeah, there's-
Arizona.
There's over
That's a
200.
prototype though, right?
Yes.
The one in Arizona?
Yeah,
No,
but
it's an
there's-
actual dryer.
Right, but it's a pilot. I mean, it's not one that's operating at a treatment plant 24/7. It's was bought specifically to do demonstrations and to do.
It's mounted in a trailer.
Yeah.
So
So,
where are they?
so there's 150 plus installations throughout Asia and Eastern Europe. That's been their footprint. They are now wanting to expand to work in the United States, in North and South America. So they signed an agreement with a exclusive representative, Sun State Environmental. Sun State Environmental approached RMI and said, we'd like you to be our rep for east of the Mississippi, because you know everybody, you've been in this long enough, blah, 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 blah. And so we went to China to look at the technology and said, yeah, this is the real deal, this is great, this is amazing. It's a $200 million company, they've been around since 2003, and the owner is a real brilliant guy who
Privately held?
well, as much as anything's privately held in government China based. Yeah. The government has its hand in everything.
Okay.
But we have an installation that is being built currently and being shipped August 9th to Hooksett, New Hampshire, will be the first one. The second one will be in Brattleboro, Vermont, and they should be just about the same time.
Same size units actually is what we proposed here.
And the difference between those two is that the Hooksett facility needs a hopper for it to, all the material to go into first, because it can't feed 24 hours off of their presses. Brattleboro can go direct and feed 24 hours. And that's a big difference, and that changes your price quite a bit. And the reduction in the cost of the bay and the conveyance would actually put you up so that you don't have an increase in
Right, the
cost.
hopper was like, what, 20% of the
57.
cost or
Yeah, it
something?
was almost
It was almost
$67.
$70,000
Yeah.
between that and the auger to feed.
So
But
if you-
I'd also be curious to get the augers, those spiral screw augers that we're feeding in the video, those things are really cost effective. So even if you want to replace another auger, it would be good while the engineer's here to at least get a quote.
So can you get us some information on where these things have been operating since, when you said
Is
they
that on
started
the
in
back?
when, 2000 when?
Is the back page of that have it, because in the original proposal, I gave you the listing of all the
I don't think that one
installations.
has it.
Okay.
This one has it.
All right, there you go. And you can see the different sizes, the different purposes for the technology. The company in China, their goal is really to reduce the solid waste so it can go to a landfill or be incinerated. And the beauty of why Sun State was very smart in figuring this out is that in the United States, we want to get to Class A through reducing to 90%. So if you look on that chart, some go to 70% or 75. They don't, because they're just doing disposal. Here, we want to go to 90%, and it achieves pasteurization and vector attraction reduction. And so that's
Right, if we get rid of all the
home run.
bad beastie nasties, then we're good.
Right,
Yeah.
this is,
Right,
Then
it's
you
a lot of-
also,
this
then
is
you,
not a apples, we're taking a big leap as far as.
well, you're coming full circle. I mean, you used to compost and make Class A, and you had a super giveaway program.
Right,
You would be back to Class A, and you can have a super giveaway program again.
yeah,
It would and it'd be so much less. It's not that huge compost operation.
right.
Is there any other company worldwide that's doing this type of
Yes, there are several other companies. Many are based out of Germany or Europe, and they're very, very expensive.
Right.
Very expensive.
They also, the type of shaping
Right.
that they do, they use
And
typically an
material.
extruder approach,
Hmm.
jamming it through a die to make the little spaghetti pieces. And if you've spent time at the treatment
Right.
plant and looked at the solids, cake is pretty hairy.
It's
And
fibrous.
a lot of
Very
fiber.
fibrous,
And
yeah.
it plugs up. I mean, our competitors, they boast about, oh, it only takes 20 minutes to change to unplug your thing. Well,
That's 20 minutes
I
that
don't
you
want-
have to have somebody unplugging the thing.
Well, and that's, I think, the difference, that the slitter really is a pasta machine. It's a totally different technology, and that's what sets this technology apart.
So we go from the
other
Play-Doh
things.
fuzzy pumper
Yep.
to.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Got
that's really neat. And then the big deal is
I
when you.
love the analogies,
Yes.
right?
Well, when you are trying to dry something, it's all about surface area. So you
Right.
want long spaghetti. That gives you the most surface area to dry it. And then as it comes around to the second belt, which the diagram is on that, literally what comes out is this granular,
Starts to
beautiful,
break.
dry, friable material. And for me, as a person who's been doing this long enough, Class A all the way. I mean, you just can't be better poised to manage a program than as a Class A, dry, non-stinky material that it'll walk out of here.
We actually also manage currently belt dried material, and it's an Italian belt dryer over in Troy, New York, Rensselaer County. We've managed that for 5 years, and something that's very interesting about the belt dried material is how stable it is. We've also managed dried material out of Greater Lawrence, which has big rotary drum dryers. And that material, it gets stored in silos with nitrogen being added to it because it can take off and combust. And we've had it combust in the field. With the belt-dried material, same type of material, anaerobically digested cake, same material, we've never had an issue. And the tests we've done at our office with belt-dried material, from this dryer too, that stuff will just sit there. It doesn't start.
Have you actually, either of you, gone over to Europe and looked at an operation?
So our sales manager and Andrew Carpenter went over to China to look at this manufacturing
Who's
plant.
our soil science consultant and biosolids consultant.
And then Charlie and Steve went out to the prototype plant in Yuma and were there checking it out. And, one of the things for RMI is that we are very confident that this new direction is so needed that we went ahead with risk on the Hooksett project and said, we're doing this. We're getting it done. And
They were the ones we went to after you all decided you
Right.
couldn't.
Understood.
yeah, so this is the way of the future. And Littleton is putting one in. Claremont's going to have one in. Dover and Durham. It's going to happen. Just boom, 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 boom. And in part, it's a shame that this is what's driving it, but PFAS is driving it. We just bid on Exeter for their project, and the low bid came in at $131.
$7 a ton.
Huh?
137.
Oh, 137.
Yeah.
$137 a ton. Now,
The other two bids were $151 and
You gotta
$214.
hedge your bets. I mean, you don't know what's gonna happen.
but it's unfortunate. The PFAS thing is what's driven it, and it's.
Well, and it appears on the surface at least to be 80% emotional.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, we've already been asked by DES after we had our sludge quality certification revision sent to us, what's your contingency plan? And really, if we do get a hit of this product, like Sheila said, you can't go to landfills, you can't land apply it, you're pretty much stockpiling the material. We do have some land out back that we could stockpile it on, but
No,
It's gonna
you
run
send
out.
back to the river.
Other
I was
impacts
gonna
there,
say,
yeah.
how close are we to the water
Yeah.
back there?
Well, we'll put it under the dome.
didn't say it wasn't
Islands
gonna,
where we're
didn't say it
storing.
wasn't gonna impact the river, but there is really very limited options to dispose of the material. This way, like Sheila mentioned as well, as it's 90% dry, solid material that's combustible. We could send it to an incinerator if they have an incinerator that burns at a temperature high enough to destroy PFAS or other volatiles.
Which is not a standard incinerator,
Right.
like Manchester doesn't burn nothing.
Yep.
So,
But I mean, just to be clear, I don't think the
Yeah.
sky is falling on PFAS. I still believe we're going to work through all of this and put that subject aside. Even with all that, just having less trucks to rumble through. I mean,
Right,
you'd
as
be
you
down
say.
to 10 trucks a year. That's like,
Right.
But
We
it's-
shouldn't be in the business of moving water.
But it still is a serious enough threat. As biosolids managers, we would feel irresponsible if we didn't look at the best available technology for what this landscape is starting to morph into. And that is certainly
Yep.
a possibility, unfortunately.
So I'm gonna ask the hard question. When you first approached us, it was this nice offer of trying to keep it with the costs that we're currently spending, and it would be, you know, kind of a long-term rental loan thing. Is that something that it's okay?
Missed it.
All
We're
right.
only doing it for 2.
All right,
I
well-
offered it to you guys first.
I know you did.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
so what we've done is, we recognize that we need to get one on the ground, and so when it didn't work out here, we
Right.
went to
Nope,
Hooksett.
I was asking the hard questions,
Yeah,
so.
and then same with Brattleboro, but, you know, I also think that you're thinking ahead of your budget cycle, figuring it out, and we'll have, the engineers from Sunstate will be here June 10th.
Okay.
It's 11th and 12th, and so what we're gonna do is, you and Littleton are our highest priorities for that visit, and Claremont, and, you know, go through, look at it, and then they'll come up with actual pricing based on the best scenario.
Okay.
Because when we first did this, we were talking about, you know, needing a storage bin and only doing it 5
Right.
days.
Right.
Now, if it's 24/7 and we have the dewatering tied in, that changes a lot of the pieces of the puzzle.
Okay.
What's going on in Ashland?
Ashland is, they got a big grant to do a big septic upgrade. Of course, they're way under capacity
Once
there.
the mill's closed, yeah.
Right.
And
So
so,
I'm curious what they're doing. I mean, are there opportunities for regional approaches to this thing?
The beauty of this is because it's modular, you can size it to whomever you're working with. And if you, again, go to the idea if you don't want to truck water, and that's why we were originally going to put this at our facility in New Hampton, and, you know, looked at that, and we'll keep trucking everyone's in. I'm like, why are we going to truck all this water? We should go to the source and have everyone have their own, because you can make it from very small to very big, and stop trucking water. There's no
So-
economy of scale.
So if down the road, if I hear Dawn's gears turning in the right directions, I might be sending you backwards, but just if we
Well,
decide
backwards a
to
lot.
work with Ashland and we have somehow get the infrastructure to get Ashland
To
stuff
pump.
to us,
Mhm.
we could add another
Another dryer.
dryer
Another
or
box.
another press or in,
Yep.
It's modular, yeah.
so it's modular enough that we could do that regional approach. Okay.
Yep,
If that made sense.
yep.
Right, if it
which,
made sense.
that's a tougher situation in their lagoon system.
Right,
And one thing, the dryer does not like foreign objects, anything larger than 5 centimeters, like a stone. And so that would be my concern with. 'cause
right,
you have
it's
to
gonna
suck
come
it
in and
out.
go,
And the way they have taken in septic historically, I mean,
Right.
it's a pretty rough grid.
yeah, because they don't have a grit seperator or anything
Correct.
like that, it just sits in the
Correct.
tanks.
That's, I think, one of the best things you all added in this latest upgrade. It's awesome,
Mhm.
because grit is tough.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, so, you know, it just timing wise, this is good for you to be able to compare the foreign you're investing in that and to what degree.
And we can get rid of the lime, right?
Yes.
All gone,
Right.
yeah.
No
But-
more trying to fix that lime
All
silo?
right, so that's,
So I guess my question, sitting here listening, is we have a
well,
more or less
remember, we-
I
pressing
know.
we wouldn't have
No
to
pun
raise
intended.
maintenance
the money.
issue here.
As much as we want.
And we have an opportunity to upgrade our approach. I think we'll all agree with kind of the rationale that every year it becomes more expensive to haul water.
Yep.
So, how much time can we buy without spending 50 grand?
Right.
Right.
So the reality is, if they're here on the week of the 10th, you know, he'll be able to pull together an information so that the following week that you've got some numbers in front of you. So that's the week of the 17th.
So would you, pardon
Was
my
this
ignorance,
June
but
or
could you
July?
tell me, what were we talking the last time? What did the numbers look like when you were here
Total
with your
cost?
initial proposal? Yeah.
About $350,000.
Okay.
That was from square one, but it was depreciated. If you ran it, you were gonna run it 6 or 12 months to make sure it fit, and then we straight line depreciated.
Okay. And now that we're talking about adding a dewatering element to it, what's that likely to look like?
I don't wanna get you excited, I don't wanna dare go out on that limb, but by doing, the original design had a very expensive bin and an extra auger. We need to get together with Jason, and hopefully Mike Terrio, the engineer at Wright Pierce, would be nice to have him at that meeting as well, to discuss the existing stuff you have in place and how that could take care of the redundancy piece. And if it can, you are only talking one screw press. If that's the case, I don't think you'd see a significant difference. But we'll know more after we all get together.
Yep.
And the payback would be, from every project that I've looked at, is 5 years or under. And that's even looking at your electricity costs.
Got to get through year 1 before you get to year 5.
Understood. Understood. I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah. Understood. Yeah, it's from our perspective, we've been working with Plymouth for a lot of years, and we want a better product at the end of the day. And this seems like a reasonable door to go through. I think you have a great team over there. They're people who can figure things out and make it happen. That's originally one of the reasons we wanted to do our first project, because of Jason. But Bruce Kudrick is a good second. So
Yeah, essentially the technology, the dryer technology, we didn't really touch on that, but it's essentially a heat pump type system similar to the heaters and cooling we have here. So that's what makes it an efficient technology.
Yeah, super efficient.
Recycling that heat and putting it back into the unit.
Have they provided you with any kind of life cycle maintenance?
Yes.
Numbers?
Excellent question.
I was just gonna ask that.
We haven't gotten a great answer to that yet, because these things they just run and run and run, and the maintenance is very simple, because there's not a lot of moving parts. It's low and slow. Whenever the stuff is
Sounds
slow,
like me.
it's always better. Well, it's always better, right? But, no, we'll get something, a better ballpark than what we currently have for that.
But we recognize this is a launch, and we're going with it. We're here to stay. We're going to stand behind it. The company itself gives a 1-year warranty on the whole unit. Sunstate is preparing an extended warranty and program that you can decide to go down or not. And I think there's been a lot of new technologies that have come down the pipe, and this one's going to be the game changer.
So Judy, to your earlier comment or question regarding scheduling and when to do work, so it's when an order is placed, meaning a deposit is placed on a unit, then there is 80 working days, so 5-day weeks, so that's 4 months, plus another month to month and a half shipping time. So you're 5.5 months before the unit hits the ground. The good news is once it gets here, once it gets at Plymouth, it's a relatively straightforward install, because literally this box, which has been assembled in China and then run to make sure for quality assurance, is taken apart just for shipping, comes over here, and then actual Shinchi technicians, Chinese technicians, along with our Sunstate partners, are here to install it, start it up, run it, commission it, train staff, and then
You know about how long
turn
it takes?
7 to 10 days.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's not a very long.
So we're
time.
talking about approximately 6 months from order to
Right.
up and running.
And where are the current negotiations on tariffs between
Yes.
us and them?
So
How is that playing into this?
Yep,
Yeah.
we recognize we're always one tweet away, but the most recent list, which they publish quarterly, did not include these. So that's all I can tell you.
Okay.
And nobody can tell you otherwise.
Until the poop hits the fan.
Exactly.
Literally.
Yeah.
Or the belt or the screw pump or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
So it's as if everything on our plate at the moment is the top priority in
Right.
terms of
Yes.
focus.
Yes.
And so we'll need to,
The buffet of items here is,
Yeah. Well, and we've been working with Jason on this for a while, so I think that we have a lot of the information already pulled together. It's just shifting to think about this dewatering component and going for 24/7. That's, great. So they'll be here on the 10th, and we'll get right back to you
I'll
on
need
the
some help
17th.
getting up to speed on that. 24/7 makes me nervous.
Oh, you should embrace it.
Yeah.
Like low and slow.
Seriously, in general, from a wastewater perspective, anytime you can run because it's a living process, anytime you can smooth that process out, and that's what 24/7 operation
That's
is.
why I say I need to see it, and
Yeah.
my experience is not
Maybe a trip to
in,
Bellows Falls.
I'm not a I'm not running wastewater plants, but
Yep.
in running municipalities, 24/7 haunts
Yeah.
us.
So the other thing that's available is that this will be all tied into the SCADA system, so it's, you can literally be at home on a
Manage
Sunday
it from
afternoon. Do, 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 do,
Right.
all good. Yeah.
It's not a lot different than your police and fire functions in terms
No.
of.
It's no
That's
different.
exactly why.
It's no-
Now we'll talk.
Yeah.
It's really no different than us operating the pumps right now.
Right.
Influent pumps run
24/7.
365.
Right?
Yeah, it just keeps the flow
Yeah.
going.
We get into shift differential and all kinds of staffing.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be,
No,
that wouldn't be
that's
necessary.
the nice thing about it is that
This
I
is one of
understand
those
we can do
things
those
that's
two
programmable and it's,
staff, yeah.
well, that's why I asked about if, when we run the Fournier at 24/7, are we gonna need staffing? And, you know, Jason was like, no. I'm like, good. Then we don't have to worry about that.
It's got all its fail safes. If something does go wrong, it'll shut
We
itself down.
just want to be at a point where it's not, that we didn't think it would.
Right.
That it absolutely won't.
Right.
Or we understand the consequences. All I'm trying to get to is, I'm behind the curve and I apologize.
That's all right.
I'll get up.
Just want to be eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So our deliverable then will be by June 17th. When is your meeting nearest around then? I don't remember which day you
It's-
want to meet.
You don't need to worry about our meeting. We'll have a meeting.
Okay, I just wanted to try and.
Deal with this.
Right, if there was,
Right.
if I was missing it by
We're
then.
supposed to discuss this evening, June 25th meeting.
Perfect.
June 11 and June 25, so 25 probably.
Right.
if-
25 is taken. If we have to push it, but that was, we were gonna deal with rates.
Okay.
And so there's no reason we can't have.
Could we come in earlier on the
meetings.
25th or
Yeah,
something
we can do a lot
that
of
we
different
can
things.
tweak something?
Well, we'll shoot to get the proposal to Jason by the 17th.
Okay.
That'll give you
Okay.
time before your meeting to talk about it, and then if you'd like us at that meeting, we'll plan to be here.
Yeah, special
Okay.
meeting.
Or have a
Or a
special
special
meeting, or
meeting.
whatever you'd like to
Special
do.
meeting, yep.
But again, the sooner you commit an order, the sooner your solution is arriving. And if you're going to talk about how long can you limp, that's part of the equation, and that's on you, not, we don't know.
Where's the money coming from?
That's a good question.
Oh,
Yes.
that's why you're here. Money bags.
Hardest position at the table, right there.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things we need to
Sure,
look at in
we need to
terms of
figure it
what do we
out.
got
I
in
mean,
terms
if
of
we know we've
reserves.
got at least 98K that we might have to come up with, so.
Right, this could, when you balance those out, I mean, that's what we
Right.
just did with Littleton. When they came down here, their centrifuge died, and so then they started shipping liquid. And they gave me the totals that
We're still
cost.
utility partners?
Oh, yeah, yeah, but that was well over $100,000 in costs, and they could have had a third of their system paid for. And now they're still in the mess. They're gonna probably, so, it just, I mean,
Right, if we can get to it before we have to
Well,
worry about things
you all
breaking.
certainly brought a lot more clarity to
Yes.
this topic tonight, second time around. But, we're weaving in all of these other issues, so I
Yeah.
greatly appreciate
Yeah.
your time.
Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
all right, let's get
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys again.
Nice seeing you too, Don. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason, that was good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, give a shout. I didn't even know you were here. So,
I don't know half the time either. Thanks, Joe.
Liam is going to the Navy Reserves.
Oh, boy.
He's starting boot camp tomorrow, so we're going to have dinner with him right now.
Oh, well, enjoy. Tell him we said hi. I'll let Aaron and Nicholas know.
Yeah, he decided he's still going to UNH, but he's going to do the reserves over the next 2 years and then do 4 years.
Wow,
So,
good for
That
him.
was a shock. Jason, thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye. Okay, another giant topic off the list.
No, just added to.
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Off the
Don's
meeting list.
plate just got platter sized. Alrighty, so we have.
We just added a third page to our list. We've been working on a to-do list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just keeps,
Alright, well, finance services proposal from MRI. So Kim, would you like to chat with us? Sure, you can take the hot seat. So you went over there.
I did.
You got to play with it. and got trained on it-ish. And,
Got to see a lot of demonstrations of all the modules.
okay,
Yeah.
and what do you think?
Awesome.
Okay, that's the good word.
I really was impressed. I can run you down some highlights of some of the modules if
Sure.
you want.
Sounds good.
So we started with payroll, and with payroll, every staff member here would have their own secure login. So
Yes.
they would be inputting their name. They would be getting rid of like their Excel timesheets, which
Yes.
seem to be a problem here sometimes.
Okay,
And so they would input their information. A supervisor, Jason or I, or someone would go through them with another secure login and
Double check it.
verify.
Yep.
Yep. And once they hit send, it would just off to whoever's processing payroll.
Right.
okay.
And then I don't know if you folks have known about the weird calculation that we do for the on-call pay rate, the overtime,
Right.
built in behind the scenes. So if they're on call, their rate just
It
gets
just
calculated
automatically
behind the
changes.
scenes. It's
Okay.
all in the setup, which is awesome. because
So
that's
there's no
just-
mistakes for
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hands off for you.
hands off, right?
Right, right.
Right.
Oh, gosh.
It splits water sewer for those of us that are, 50/50 or Jason and I 70/30. So we just put in our time and it will do that, calculate itself. It allows people to put in, their time, so their vacation time, all that. If you're water sewer, it'll do that split for you as well, or you can override that, which is nice. And the greatest part of the payroll section that I could see was that they have your accrual right on your pay advice slip. So at the beginning of the year, they input the time, your vacation, whatever, and it works down and it prints right out on the slip. And that
So
is-
you know exactly what you've got, like
That
I got
is-
paid this weekend and I know I
used
have
3
10
vacation
days.
days, off they came, and
Yeah.
it's right on your pay advice. We spend so much time trying to retrack. Jason
Yeah.
has a spreadsheet, there's
Right.
another
Yeah.
spreadsheet. If you have to go back, you have to, go through all the timesheets, all the payroll reports. It's right there. If you have a question, you can see it on day one.
Okay,
So that's awesome. Payroll, the accounts payable module, every module is easy. Like, you could follow what the live fields were. So if you want to put in your vendor, there's a section that, vendor, you just start typing. I mean, it's like so easy. It leads you through the steps. There's a project function in almost every module, so.
so you can say
if you
RMI,
The Holderness Well project.
Right.
You can tag it to it.
okay,
You can upload invoices to several different modules. So say it's could be the AP module, you can hook your invoice to it, you can hook backup to it. So if the auditors say, I want to see that invoice where you paid out such and such for this, it's always there. It's right there, you just print
so
it
how
out.
do you upload? Is it
But scanning.
scan it and just hit the
And
upload
it's just
button?
a
Oh,
file
nice,
attached. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's a nice feature, especially
Okay.
if your auditors are telling you to pull them. That takes forever to go through paper files and, where do we file that particular thing?
Okay,
It's always right there.
yeah. Were we talking about putting this on our network or having it them host it? I forget.
Optional.
Yeah.
We have options.
Right.
It's cloud-based.
All right, so the
Yeah.
MRI would be,
Doesn't
Just-
have to
Right.
be.
right,
Yep,
right.
yep.
Well, there's a reason I'm asking that question, which I'll bring up
well, it
later.
has to do with the
Okay.
server, right?
We'll talk
Okay.
about that later.
It can handle doing separate checks to the same vendor, which has been a problem here. I couldn't get my notary paid for in the same week as somebody else had a class through the state of New Hampshire because they couldn't separate the check and they had to go this one.
different
You
places.
just check mark, separate check. I mean, they've thought of a lot. I think Brenda, who's probably dealt with every problem in this world through the town of Meredith, is like, we need a separate check for the state of New Hampshire.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, I couldn't trip her up. I mean, she had all the answers, I think.
Somehow, if you encounter a situation they haven't thought of, they probably, if it's legitimate. I'm sure.
I think their programmer could probably fix it for you, honestly.
Well, that's,
Okay.
that's,
He
these are all
was very
positive.
confident that he could tie Continental through the reporting functions of our Continental. And I think he's worked with somebody in Bristol who already does that. They already have like their reporting talk to their software in town.
Okay,
So he was very familiar with it. So I was
Good.
very confident. Plain stock, check stock instead of numbered checks their system uses. We've had so many problems with check printing, the numbers are off. Well, this is just plain stock, so it will put the number on, there won't be any misnumbered
Okay.
checks.
They're a lot
And
cheaper too,
Way cheaper, they were telling me that, way cheaper.
Okay.
like a third of the price.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we
And
can
for
save money there.
Bob, it can do auto signature, as long as the auditor says
Oh.
that you are allowed to use that function. So it's just a question to the auditor, but she does have people who are using it.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
that's a big plus.
Someone down there might be happy.
I was gonna say.
Well, there are a lot of other things that I like that I hear,
Yes.
much more than that.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So
that's-
the
that says
purchase
something.
order module, again, simple, you fill in the live fields, it leads you right to what you need to do. Again, you can upload your backup materials, scanning them in, it'll stay with the purchase order, which is nice. No tracking them down in the paper file. There's 3 levels of approvals, so, you know, any of us can do up to 200, John can do up to 500. So if
So you
pushes the
can
button,
put that in there.
they can
and-
set up who's appropriate to approve. And They
Okay.
have 3 levels at this point, or they'll do what, they'll set it up to however we
Right,
need
'cause
it,
it's
but,
it's the benefit of accounts based.
Well, we only have 3 levels, right?
right.
Okay,
Yep.
so, but if we needed another one, we could get it.
Yep.
All good?
Their general ledger ties to the DRA numbers,
Okay.
so we're always
Oh my
trying to
God.
like figure out like where do we put
Yeah,
this
Bob is, I can see Bob is, he's ready to float balloons in the air.
All right, so then just one more. Bob, bank reconciliation. Oh my God. So all you do is they actually have a way to download the statements into this system from Merrifield Savings Bank. You go through, you put check marks on all the things that I've given you over the whole, right? Outstanding items have flags, so you know what items that you're still searching for. If there's an item such as your interest, you don't know your interest at this point, you can right then and there input the interest in that same module. You don't have to get out, go in your GL, put in your interest, any of that stuff. You do it right there and it's done. They had me sold on that one.
Well, I mean, this is what I started talking about from the first day I was here.
Right.
Is that the system that we've been using is
It's
so
broken.
asinine and
broken.
antiquated that it needed to be fixed. And
So,
Okay.
this
I mean,
seems to
I was
answer a
very
lot of the
impressed, and
questions.
they could answer every question I had and more. I mean, I was
Well,
very
thank you
impressed.
for going.
Yes.
All right.
And as I recall, the proposal was keeping it within
Yes.
our
Yes.
current expenses to be able
Yes.
to break into the system and go forward.
Your concern about
Oh,
cloud
no, actually,
versus
no.
non-cloud,
but no,
or
it
you
was
want
actually,
cloud?
that was outside of this particular discussion, but
Okay,
it was more, my concern is computer security, and that was just as a general topic,
okay,
which I wanted to bring up, but
okay,
I don't have any question
On
here
this.
about the,
okay. Does everybody remember the proposals? Because I'd hear a motion to do this right away.
all right, yeah,
Yesterday.
our 3 choices.
Yep.
Just happen to have a copy.
Oh,
Yeah,
you are
touche.
awesome.
I have a copy if anyone wants to share.
Yeah, we'll share. Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, we can share. Were we thinking option?
One from
2 or
column A,
3?
one from
Can I
column
put in
B.
one more comment?
Yes, please.
If we're going forward with the RD package,
If
the
it-
funding,
Yes.
we need a really good hands-on people to manage this.
Yeah.
That's my thought. It's like,
Yeah.
if we're going interim financing and then converting to the RD money, I'd like to see like it really be well managed.
So I would obviously make a motion for option 2, but it still saves us money. We get the interim financing, we get the 18 months of help, and then we can figure out what it is we need to do next.
Can you just refresh my memory on what 2 off that I get?
Read it.
Option 2 gives us a person.
Right,
Option 3 does not give us a person.
right. That was the one that I liked from the beginning.
You understand, I
mean,
can't have
know
an
you
opinion.
can't say anything.
Yes, yes.
When you say gives us a person, good news.
Well, I thought option
Wasn't
two,
option one was just software?
right, option two was
18
like the
month,
big thing,
and option
three was.
wasn't it a 3-year contract?
No, was it? Oh,
Yes.
is that what I'm
Yes,
confusing?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Option
so-
one is software only.
So we want option three.
Right.
Yeah, I think really they're pushing to, I
Was
think it was
three
really
the
designed to.
one? Okay,
Yeah.
my
I mean,
mistake.
We're already almost 2 years into thinking about RD, so we have about 3.5 years of.
Okay, so we want
If we want to
option
manage
three.
the projects well, I would think 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think, yeah, the total, remember the total annual cost here,
Right, was way less.
yeah,
Well,
this is an 18-month.
month, so if you double that one,
So if you take 2/3 of that,
right,
like
right, it
75-ish.
works, right, okay.
So,
So we want option three. That
right,
was
I
what
mean, it's
we
a, it's a bigger commitment time-wise up front. I mean,
Right.
this is saying, we have faith that this product really is going to make
Right,
everything better than it is.
but which was the one that, they all had the staffing, correct?
No,
Right,
one does not have staff.
right.
Right, the first one doesn't have staffing,
They're just
but,
calling it interim staffing here for the 18-month
right,
period.
rather than
Here.
staffing, okay, option three. I'll take a motion, please.
I will make a motion that we approve option 3 here from MRI. Unless further discussion, I shouldn't.
Yes,
No,
well, we should
I'm-
make a motion for
I'm thinking on this
discussion.
now.
Okay,
I mean, I've thought about it before, but based on the amount of work we have to do, based on the time frame we're working with you, we've got to get up and running. I mean, I guess I would second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Do we need a non-public?
Probably.
Okay,
Probably a good idea.
We will add that in.
91A32, hold on, I think it's 32A.
yeah, I think
Regarding
it is
personnel.
32A. That's
Now we
section
have-
D or something?
32A.
right.
Yes.
Do we have other things
Is
here
it
for
section
public?
D?
No, it's 32A, RSA 91A32A.
91A, 32A, section A, okay, got it. All right, well, we'll get there.
Yeah,
All right, so, awesome, yay. Kim, this is yours, thank you. District administrator items.
Nothing of major consequence. I was targeting, we indicated in the notes, I'm targeting a work session or workshop on the end of June. We are working hard and making substantial progress, I think, on looking at rates. Judy asked an interesting question tonight, this afternoon, which I hadn't thought about, is whether or not we might be in a position to adjust them before the end of the year. And that's something I couldn't answer because I hadn't thought about it, but we will look at that as in terms of possibility. Paul got updated and I think has a better appreciation of the number of moving parts associated
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of.
with analyzing the rates, but we're looking at user classifications and fee components. So it will we'll need some time. We'll try to get you stuff to study up front, so it's where you're not walking in cold, so you can have framed your questions. But essentially, what we're looking at is I've done a cash flow or a debt service analysis through 2055. And so we've looked at so we're able to forecast where the peak years will hit. It looks like it'll be in the mid-2000s, 2024, 2025, depending upon how we structure the loan from rural development and their rules of the game. We're going to find out Friday. We're meeting with them on Friday and find out whether the 30-year clock actually began retroactively. And so then that means we don't really have 30 years. It means we have to, we have to.
so our debt service would be
It'll be
higher.
Higher,
Yes,
yeah.
per year, yes.
And so we'll be looking at that, and Jason and I met with, as I've said in the notes, we met with the town, and we'll be engaging them in a conversation around project planning, so that we're not digging in roads and not paying attention to other infrastructure that's in the roads, so that when we finish once, and the town's not coming back next year or the year after and replacing drainage or dealing with drainage issues. I learned in terms of conversations with one of the people from the highway department, that particularly on the South Main Street area, there's a lot of old drainage that somebody needs to pay attention to. And
It's a mess.
so we need to be part of that conversation early
It
and
is a
often.
mess.
So we'll be setting up those meetings. And so far, so good.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of positive things I saw in
Yeah.
our weekly
yeah.
report.
I love those weekly reports.
Yes.
They're so helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, nothing.
And we
I'll
have no
remember it.
public?
I'll remember that.
So we have no public comment. And upcoming meetings, June 11th and 25th. I will not be here for June 11th, but please have a meeting without me. You can email me, and if I can
No,
get
no,
on,
that-
I'll get on.
Again, I'm not sure that we'll need one. I would rather think about keeping that first meeting in the can, and
Okay.
given the conversation we had here this evening, maybe we have back-to-back weeks or
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
something.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have meetings when we have important topics to
Yeah,
cover.
fortunately for me, maybe, unfortunately for other people, we will be out of the country.
Oh,
So,
too bad.
yeah, now that I just
We
announced that
expect
on TV.
postcards.
Of course.
And candies or something when you
Something,
come back.
I don't
know where you're
I can
going.
do that. We'll shove it in a
When you
suitcase.
come back, whatever they're famous for, we expect one.
Okay. We'll see.
Hopefully you're going to Switzerland. I like
There
their
you go. Chocolate?
Chocolate.
Yes. All righty. Well, I guess I need a motion to go into non-public.
I make a motion we go into non-public, subject to RSA 91A.